Let me mute everyone. The screen is a bit.
I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance.
Text 20. Dhyave prithivyoriदं mantram hi vyaptam tavekam disha cha sarva drishtav adbhutam rupam ugram tvedam loktriyam pryavathitam mahatmana.
Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed.
Text 21. Amihi tvam sursangha vishanti kechid bhita pranjalyo grinanti swasti yuktava maharsi sid sangha stuvanti tvam stutubhi pushkalabhi.
All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings, crying all peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns.
Text 22. Rudraditya vasvo ye cha sadhya vishwa ashvino mrutsa ushma pacha gandharva yaksha sur siddh sangha vikshante tvam vishmato cha sarve.
All the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadyas, the Vishwadevas, the two Ashvis, the Muruds, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder.
Text 23. Rupam maheti bahu vaktra netram mahabaho bahu bahu rupadam bahu udram bahu drashta karalam drishtav loka parvathitas tathaham.
The mighty armed one, all the planets with the demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form, with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I.
Text 24. Nabhasprisam dip anekavarnam vyatananam dip vishala netram Dristavahi tvam parvyathyantratma dhritim na vidami shamam cha Vishnu.
All pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouths, and your great glowing eyes, my mind is perturbed by fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind.
Text 25. Drishta karalani cha te mukhani drishta vavkalanal sanibhani disho na jane na labhe cha sharma parsidh vesha jagan nivasa.
O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the world, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered.
Text 26 to 27. Ami cha tvam dhritarashtrasya putra sarve savhavani pala sanghe bhishmo dorana sutputrastathaso sahasmadhyarepi yodhya mukheya vaktrani te tvarmana vishanti दंष्ट्राकरालानि भ्यानकानि केचिद्विलग्नादशान्त्रेषु सन्दृश्यन्ते चूर्णितेरु उत्माङ्गे.
All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings, and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and our chief soldiers also, are rushing into your fearful mouth, and some I see trapped with heads smashed between your teeth.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Krishna Govinda Prabhu and Mataji, for this wonderful recitation. And thank you everyone else for joining in and listening. So today we will continue now reading some verses in particular. Let me just put my mic, give me a better. And share my screen, let's see, chat. Okay, Hare Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, the universal form. Before we discuss the verses in detail today, that's 9, 10, and 11. Verse number 9 does not have a purport. So traditionally, where there's no purport, we move on to the next verses, which are 10 and 11 combined. So we'll do 9, 10, and 11 today. But before we do that, we'll say the Mangalacharan prayers to invoke auspiciousness within our hearts and to request auspiciousness from the previous acharyas and the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadesha Tarine. Hare Krishna. So text number 9. Yesterday Mukunda Hari Prabhu discussed in detail text number 8. So Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Utvatatu Rajan Maho Yogeshwara Hari Darshanam Ashapataya Paramam Rupam Aishwaram. Sanjaya said, O king, having spoken thus, the Supreme Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna. So prior to these verses, Arjuna had not yet himself observed the universal form. Krishna had given him a brief description of what he was about to see. And then Krishna told him that you need divine eyes to observe this universal form. And Krishna then granted him that vision. No ordinary person can see the universal form. Only with purified vision can one see it. So having granted Arjuna this ability, the Lord of all mystic power, displayed this universal form to Arjuna. And the interesting word in this particular verse is Maha Yogeshwara, meaning the greatest of all mystics. Krishna is known as Yogeshwara. Generally, a living entity can develop certain mystic powers. There are 8 mystic powers. And an ordinary living entity like you and me, through the practice of the Ashtanga Yoga system, we may be able to develop certain what is called yogic siddhis. And they are 8 in number. Just briefly, the first one is to become smaller than the smallest. That is called anima siddhi. One can become very small. You can go through a keyhole. The second one is you can become lighter than a feather, very, very light, can float and walk on water. That is called lagima siddhi. The third one is you can get anything from anywhere, and that is called prapta siddhi. The fourth one is you can become heavier than the heaviest. That is called mahima siddhi. The fifth one is one can act freely to create something wonderful or to annihilate anything at will. Very powerful. That is called isitva siddhi. Then we have something called vasitva siddhi, which gives us control over the material elements. Then one can possess such power that one's desires can never be frustrated. That is called prakamya siddhi. And lastly, one can take any shape or form that one desires, and that is called kamavasa yitta siddhi. Like Shubhanaka, she could take any form that she wanted. So all of these siddhis, ordinary living entities can get, but to a very small fraction. Just like the living entity can take different forms, can even expand themselves. But if one form eats, the other form will have to eat. If one form walks, the other form will have to walk. So this is limited yogic siddhi. But Krishna is called Mahayogeshvara because he has all of these siddhis and more to unlimited degree. Just like Krishna, when he expanded himself into 16,108 forms in his Dwaraka palace. Once Narad Muni went to see the Lord in Dwaraka. And in every palace he saw the Lord was doing something else with one queen and doing another thing with in another queen in another palace. In 16,108 forms. And Narad Muni, who had some of these siddhis, he was completely bewildered, thinking, how great is this Lord Krishna? Therefore, Lord Krishna is known as not only Yogeshvara in this verse, but he is known as Mahayogeshvara Hari, the supreme of all mystics. And that supreme of all mystics now displays his universal form to Arjuna. And as it's been explained in this verse, in the verse number 7, oops. Let me stop. Someone is making intentionally annotating. Krishna told Arjuna, you can see whatever you wish in this form. Whatever you desire to see and whatever you may desire to want to see in the future, you can see here. Everything past, present, and future could and can be observed in the universal form. And Krishna says, everything that you desire to see, moving or non-moving, you will be able to see completely in this one place. How amazing is that? In just this one place, Krishna is going to give Arjuna the ability to see past, present, future, everything that he desires to see within this universal form. And then we move on to text number 10 and 11. Aneka Vatranayanam, Aneka Bhuta Darshanam, Aneka Divya Bharanam, Divyaneko Dhyatadyudam, Divya Malyam Bharadharam, Divya Gandha Nulekpanam, Sarvascharya Mayam Deva, Anantam Vishvato Mukham. So here, description is now going to be given of this universal form. The first description that Arjuna is witnessing. This is being spoken by Sanjaya. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared all over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, and all expanding. So this is the first description we get of what Arjuna is seeing, a transcendental vision. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, in these two verses, the repeated use of the words many, aneka, 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 divyaneka. In these two verses, the repeated use of the word many indicates that there was no limit to the number of hands, mouths, legs, and other manifestations Arjuna was seeing. These manifestations were distributed throughout the universe. But by the grace of the Lord, Arjuna could see them while sitting in one place. That was due to the inconceivable potency of Krishna. What a beautiful purport. Today, the scientists want to see what is happening in Mars. Through great endeavors, they create some machine which they put on a rocket, and that rocket fires, and then they try to control this instrument to see what's happening in outer space through great endeavor. But through Krishna's mystic potency, immediately Arjuna could see everything that was taking place at all points of the entire universe. And in these verses, there are some very wonderful qualities. The first quality described there is many divine scents were smeared all over his body. So Arjuna was not only seeing, he was also hearing, and he was also smelling. So this universal form was emitting divine scents that was smeared all over his body. And this is one of the qualities of the Lord. Our bodies, material bodies, it's always emitting foul substances from the nose, from the mouth, to various parts of the body. And even sweat comes out of the pores. No good smell. But the Lord's body, being transcendental, it always emits a transcendental smell. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita 19th chapter, there are some nice verses that describe the transcendental smell of Krishna's body. In text number 94 of the Antya Leela, 19th chapter, it's explained, Krishna's eyes, navel and face, hands and feet are like 8 lotus flowers of his body. And what comes out of the lotus flowers? Beautiful scent of the lotus. From those 8 lotuses emanate a fragrance. And what is the nature of this fragrance? It's like the mixture of camphor and lotus. That is the scent associated with his body. Sometimes we read about Krishna's pastimes. He tries to hide from his devotees or his friends. But it's very difficult for Krishna to hide because his body has this unimaginable, unique fragrance that even if he's hiding, the devotees will smell Krishna out because his smell is so unique. And then it's described in the next verse, when sandalwood pulp is mixed with aguru, kunkuma, musk, and camphor, and spread on Krishna's body, it combines with Krishna's own bodily perfume and seems to cover it. So Krishna has this beautiful, sometimes they put these different substances on Krishna, but when it mixes with Krishna's own scent, it becomes beautiful. The scent of Krishna's transcendental body is so attractive that it enchants the bodies and minds of all women. It bewilds their nostrils, it loosens their bells and hair, and makes them mad women. All of the women of the world come under its influence, and therefore the scent of Krishna's body is like a plunderer. So there are many other beautiful descriptions in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other of the Vaishnava literatures that describe this beautiful scent of Krishna. So this universal form of Krishna, it was also exhibiting a divine scent, which Arjuna was getting the opportunity to smell. But Arjuna, having been Krishna's associate, this was not constant associate, this was not particularly unique for Arjuna, because he was always near Krishna, experiencing Krishna's scent. Then it is explained that this form was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all-expanding. Some beautiful descriptions. Brilliant meaning it had a brilliant effulgence. We say someone looks brilliant, it means it just shined forth, colorful. And it was wondrous. An interesting word used there, it was all-expanding. All-expanding in that it is getting bigger. And this is the difference between spiritual and that which is material. Anything that is material, by nature, we understand, it shrinks. Recently, I left my sandals out in the sun. When I came back a few days later, it shrunk and it wouldn't fit my feet anymore. Even the fruit on the tree, it shrinks. As we get older, our body shrinks. Everything in the material world, it contracts, it diminishes, it changes, it mutates. That's the nature of matter. And I don't have to explain it, we all have personal experience of this. But the nature of anything spiritual is that it is ever expanding. It is never static. Everything about Krishna, everything about Krishna's energy is never static, it's always expanding. Krishna's beauty is ever expanding. Krishna's glories are ever expanding. So in the same way, this universal form, being a manifestation of Krishna, it is described as all expanding. So Arjuna was seeing all of these wondrous, brilliant, unlimited forms, and not only were they unlimited, they were all expanding. Description is also given that this form was celestial, many celestial ornaments, and bore many divine upraised weapons. You can see this form had a garland, flowers, ornaments, and some forms had many upraised, fearsome weapons. So one can just simply imagine. We may not ever get the opportunity to observe this universal form, and for a pure Vaishnava, that is not their desire. The desire is to see the two-armed Shyamasundar form of the Lord. But still, we can marvel and appreciate the wonderful attributes of Krishna in this verse. So I'll stop here for today, describing this verse, because I wanted to speak briefly about tomorrow's wonderful event, Sri Radhastami. just to prepare our consciousness a bit. We were reading about Krishna's divine scent, how it attracts everyone. I was reading today how Srimati Radharani, her scent is so unique that it attracts even Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explains that in this material world, all of us are being captivated by Cupid. It is said Cupid shoots his arrows and then we get captivated with the opposite sex. With so many things, we get captivated in the material world. And Cupid is known as Madan. But once Cupid tried to shoot his arrow at Krishna when he was dancing with the gopis. And every time he tried to shoot, Krishna was moving and he couldn't fix his arrow on Krishna. Eventually, Krishna, just by looking at Cupid, just by looking at Krishna, he became so captivated that he dropped his arrow, bow and arrows. Therefore, Krishna is known as Madan Mohan, one who attracts Cupid. But Srimati Radharani is known as Madan Mohan Mohini, because she is so attractive that she attracts even Krishna. So this Sri Radhastami for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas is the most important day of the year, even more important than Janmashtami. Prabhupada used to say, or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu are called Vaishnavas. Those who are devotees of Krishna are called Krishnites. And those who are devotees of Srimati Radharani are called Gaudiyas. So we coming in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are known as Gaudiyas because our supreme worshipable object is Srimati Radharani. I'll show a brief movie about Varshana, the place of Srimati Radharani in Vrindavan. I wanted to give some description about Srimati Radharani, but I don't think we will talk about Radha Tattva. I don't think we'll have time, so maybe I'll just show you all this video. So bear with me because I need to share it with sound.
In Bhakti Ratnakara, there's a description of when Raghava Goswami took Srinivasa Acharya and Narottam Das Thakur on Vraj Mandal Parikrama. When they reached Varshana, Raghava told them, "Here is Vrishabhanupur, also known as Varshana. Near this mountain is the residence of Vrishabhanu Maharaj. On this exotic mountain, Brajendra Kumar performed the Dan Leela, hidden from the view of others. Here, Radharani's feigned anger was broken, and here Krishna became intoxicated by performing his various pastimes. O Srinivas, absorbed in her childhood leelas, Radharani played various games with her sakhis here. She delighted in playing with her friends among the hills of Varshana as she passed from childhood to adolescence. We'll now take you on a journey through these sacred hills to visit the temples and see the places where the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his eternal consort performed their transcendental pastimes together 5,000 years ago. Varshana is one of the richest areas of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. Even now they meet in the beautiful forests here every day, and one can feel their transcendental presence everywhere. Actually, Srimati Radharani appeared in Raval, near Gokula, on the eastern side of the Yamuna. And when Krishna moved to Vrindavan at the age of 3 years and 4 months, she moved there also. When Krishna was 6 years and 8 months, he moved with his parents Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda from Vrindavan to Nandagram. At that time, Srimati Radharani and her parents, Maharaj Vrishabhanu and Mother Kirtida, moved to Varshana, which is just 8 kilometers away. In the Padma Purana it is stated that at the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva all wanted to do some service for Krishna in Sri Vrindavan Dham, so they could get some dust from his lotus feet. Lord Shiva asked if he could become a hill in the Dham, and the Lord allowed him to become Nandishvara Hill at Nandagram. Seeing how Lord Shiva had received this great mercy from Krishna, both Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma then appealed to him to also become hills in Vraj Mandala, and Krishna allowed them to take their places in Varshana. Lord Brahma's 4 heads became 4 light-colored hills, and Lord Vishnu's head became a 5th darker-colored hill. Here we see a map of Vraj Mandala. Varshana is towards the top left side. This is the Varshana area. We'll do the full parikrama, which is about 7 kilometers. First, we go through Varshana town and take the lower path and go on to Vilaskar, which is the head of Lord Vishnu. Then we'll come back down and pass through Sankari Kaur and enter the village of Chitradevi, one of the Astasakis, or 8 main girlfriends of Srimati Radharani. Then we'll go to Krishnakund and up to Morkutia. From there we'll cross over to Mangar and then proceed through the forest up to Dangar and the Jaipur temple. From the Jaipur temple we'll go to the Sriji Mandir, which is the main temple of Srimati Radharani, said to be situated on the site of Maharaj Vrishabhanu's palace. The temple looks out over the town and is a fitting tribute to Radharani, the pleasure potency and divine consort of Lord Krishna, the original supreme personality of Godhead. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we find the following prayer: Devi Krishna Mai Prokta, Radhika Paradevata, Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva, Kanti Sammohini Para. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. We set off through the town and first visit a temple dedicated to Maharaj Vrishabhanu, Mother Kirtida, and their son Sridham, the brother of Srimati Radharani. The owners are competing with the Sriji temple and are also claiming that this is where King Vrishabhanu's palace was. After passing through the town, we enter the lower part of the Gavavan forest. Gavavan means the forest of caves, and it is said that 5,000 years ago there were many caves here, which Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna would meet in and enjoy pastimes in. To our right, we see the Jaipur temple, situated on the hill, which is the second head of Lord Brahma.
Hare Krishna. So I hope you enjoyed that short video. If you want to see the whole video, this is a beautiful video made by His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. I have a DVD copy of this video, but you can also see it on YouTube. All of the parikrama, which we saw on the map, you can see it. You search for the hills of Varshana, and then you can see this beautiful video. So we'll now take any questions, comments, or reflections that you may have.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you for
Pushpani Mataji.
taking us on the holy trip, the yatra to Varshana, especially because of the lockdown. We won't be going in Kartik, but thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
It's wonderful to be in Vrindavan, at least in mind, and especially in Varshana.
It's true.
Thank you. Thank you,
Hare
Navdeep.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vrindavan Chandra.
Hare Krishna, Palika Mataji.
So nice, wonderful. Because last Kartik month we all went to Varshana, so it's just reminding me all the places we've been. You know, from here we went and Swami's tour, and it was really reminding me of Varshana on the top. So it's just so wonderful. Radhamani's birthplace. So nice. Thank you very much for sharing it.
There's a special energy when you go there. You just
Yeah,
feel you are in a very, very, very special place at Varshana.
very, very wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Just wanted to ask, you know, you were mentioning before that Krishna has aroma, wonderful aromas of. And now we are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 5th canto. It was about Bharat Maharaj's father,
Rishabdev.
Rishabdev. When he was also left his family and went to the forest, and then he was behaving as if he was a madman, and then he was also having this aroma, which was because he's Krishna himself.
Yeah, I was going to say that about how it's mentioned in that canto that Lord Rishabdev was an incarnation of Krishna. He used to apparently pass stool, but his stool used to be so fragrant that for 5 miles, that wonderful fragrance used to permeate.
I just connected. I got connected with that. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Chandradas.
Hare Krishna, Lok.
I was just wondering, the scents that are being talked about, I think doesn't say in the Gita that like Krishna smells like the smell of grass in the morning. Would that be a similar, the smell of earth in the morning when the rains just come down?
Yes.
How's that smell? Is that the kind of, or is that just a certain places?
That was more a metaphor where Krishna says, I am the fragrance of the earth. Because, when it rains and the fragrance come out, it's a very fresh smell. And, many people find that extremely appealing and purifying. So Krishna says in the Gita that scent can be one can remember him. It's not that it means that Krishna has the scent of earth. It is a description of the best thing we can see in the material world. Krishna says you can get an inkling of what my opulences are. But the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita gives a bit more detail about the finest sense of Krishna in terms of various descriptions. Again, relative to our own experience, we can never compare it, but they have to describe it relative to what we conceive as something extraordinary and wonderful in the material world. Yeah, but a good point. Krishna does say something like that in the Gita.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I just remembered the transformation of the 4 Kumaras when they smelled the tulsi from the lotus feet of Krishna, and that changed their aroma, because that changed change the body and mind.
Exactly, absolutely. Just the tulsi leaves that we're anointing the lotus feet of the Lord. When the Kumaras smelled that, as you said, Bhagavati Mataji, they felt a complete transformation in their mind and their consciousness. That was something like they've never experienced in their lives before. Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Govinda Prabhu.
Thank you so much for the class and nice video for Shana. The question I wanted to ask you, so we have the three Vishnus. You have Kandaksha Vishnu, you have Garbhadaksha Vishnu, and Shiradaksha Vishnu. So in Garbhadaksha Vishnu is lying on the causal ocean, and from him, from the skins, the pores of the skin, all the universe, all bubbles are appearing and disappearing. So in relation to Garbhadaksha Vishnu and the universal form, where does the universal form actually lie? Of course, it's in every universe, but do we assume that in every Garbhadaksha Vishnu there's a universal form?
No. Prabhupada says very clearly, and it's mentioned here, that this is a temporary form that's manifested by the Lord only at a certain point. It's not like a permanent form that has a permanent existence in some place in the universe. It's just a temporary form.
Okay.
Yeah, that Prabhupada says in a few of the purports, he explains that.
So I assume that universal form is in every
No, it's not in every universe. It's a temporary manifestation that Krishna manifests from time to time at his will. It's not like the three Purusha avatars, the three Vishnus that are permanent. No, it's not like that.
Okay, yeah, sure. But it's not imaginary either, is it?
It's not imaginary, no.
Yeah.
It's a manifestation of Krishna, but he temporarily only manifests this. And it does not exist in the spiritual world. Only in the material world it's manifested.
Sure. Thank you for that explanation, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class.
Hare Krishna Gata.
I'm just wondering, I think in the video it was mentioned that Radha is worshipped above Krishna by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Is that, did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
How do we understand that correctly?
It is a very in-depth topic. But once, and it has a deeper understanding, once someone asked Srila Prabhupada, how does one get the mercy of Lord Krishna? And Srila Prabhupada said, you can only get the mercy of Lord Krishna by the mercy of Srimati Radharani. So only when Srimati Radharani is pleased with us will we get the mercy of Krishna. So in that sense, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are followers of Srimati Radharani. They do not consider to approach Krishna directly. Their consideration is, let me be the servant. And also, the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy is that we are the servant of the servant of the servant. The aspiration, as Srila Prabhupada has taught us, is never to want to become the direct servant of Krishna, but always to aspire to become the servant of the servant of the servant. And there's actually unlimited more pleasure in that position than in the position of being direct servant. So keeping with that mood, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas think, who is the best servant of Krishna? Who can please Krishna the most? And the devotee's pure desire is to give pleasure to Krishna. So if our desire is to give pleasure to Krishna, the automatic question would be, who is the person who can give most pleasure to Krishna? And the automatic and natural answer is, it's Srimati Radharani. So the automatic desire that arises from then is, let me become the servant of the servant of the servant of Srimati Radharani. So that is, in a very succinct way, this is the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta.
Okay, thank you. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
thank you. Wonderful answer.
So we got a question. Oh, you wrote the question. Okay, so we answered that, Geta, on the forum. Any other questions or comments?
I think
Okay.
it's just a question from Div Kishan. What does tomorrow represent?
Oh, okay. So tomorrow represents the day Srimati Radharani appeared in this world. When Krishna comes down, all of his eternal associates come down also. So Srimati Radharani appeared in a wonderful way in a place called Raval in Vrindavan. It's the day she actually appeared in this world. So tomorrow represents that day, Radhastami, the day Srimati Radharani appeared in the world. And it's a great celebration because our supreme worshipable object came down to earth about 5,000 years ago on this particular day. So this is the significance of tomorrow, Radhastami. I mean, if we had more time, we could have spoken about who Srimati Radharani is. Radha Tattva is quite difficult to understand, but in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are some nice explanations. So I'm not sure who's speaking tomorrow, but I'm sure we'll hear more about some of that Siddhanta. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your wonderful and patient listening and your questions and your contribution. All glories to your service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radhastami ki jai. Srimati Radharani ki jai.
Jai,
Ora
jai.
Premanande.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Happy
Thank you,
Radhashmi for
Prabhu.
tomorrow.
Hare
Happy
Krishna.
Radhastami.
Happy Radhastami.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.